Thanks to the witnesses for being here. I just want to add, I don't really have much to add to what the chairman said, because I just agree with all of it. I think this issue is, it's not just an issue anymore. It's not just a theory, and the effect of AI in elections is not something, deepfakes in elections is not something that is any longer just a theory. We've seen it. I mean, we've seen it happen. I mean, some of you were here today to testify about it. We've seen it with fake robocalls. We've seen it with fake images, fake videos produced and disseminated on social media having to do with candidates. It's happening on, it's not confined to one political party or to one primary. It's happened in multiple all across the country. And I think the dangers of this technology without guardrails and without safety features are becoming painfully apparent. And I think the question now is that are we going to have to watch some catastrophe unfold? Already we're watching everyday people have their images stolen, have their likenesses used, commandeered. We're watching folks having their images taken and being turned into pornographic material. We're watching news anchors have their images ripped off, turned into false information, dubbing effectively things that they didn't say. We're watching the effect on elections. Are we going to have further disaster? Are we going to have an electoral disaster before Congress realizes, gee, we really should do something to give the public some sense of safety, some sense of certainty that what they're seeing and hearing is actually real? Or is it in fact manufactured? And I think that is a baseline that we're talking about here. But I want to echo and amplify something the chairman just said, which is that there are multiple bipartisan bills that are common sense bills that are ready to go. And I'm proud to have worked on them with everybody sitting on this dais, beginning with the chairman, Senator Klobuchar, who has worked very hard on this. It's time that these bills got a vote. I mean, we can talk and talk, and nobody has done a better job of surfacing this issue and bringing facts into the public domain than the chairman has. But now it's really time to vote, and I just call on the leadership of both parties in the Senate. Both parties. The leadership needs to support an effort to get a vote. And I say an effort to get, really, they just need to schedule a vote. Let's put these bills on the floor and let's vote. Let's not allow these same companies that control the social media technology in this country, that control the news in this country, to also now use AI to further their hammerhold on the United States of America and on our political process. Mr. Coleman, you raised in your opening statement what is, I think, my nightmare scenario, which is you made the comment that pretty soon it's going to be anybody with an internet connection is going to be able to access and use deepfake technology. I wonder if we're there already, though. I mean, I'm looking at this article from the New York Times just a few days ago. The headline is "Teen Girls Confront an Epidemic of Deepfake Nudes in Schools." The details of this are just unbelievable. I mean, this is a young girl, Francesca Mani, at a high school in Westfield, New Jersey, and she's a 10th grader. All of this is in the article. She's a 10th grader, and she found out that a number of boys in her class had used artificial intelligence software to fabricate sexually explicit images of her and a number of her friends, and then were circulating them online and showing them to classmates, but putting them onto platforms. Now, I presume that these teenage boys didn't pay a lot of money in order to do this. In fact, the article goes on to say that they used widely available nudification apps to create these fake photos. So they take the photos of their classmates from Instagram or wherever, and use those, feed them into this app, and then here you are, and it probably costs them almost nothing. So I guess my question to you is, are we at the point now with this technology where we're going to see a flood of AI-generated CSAM, a flood of other sexually explicit material created of adults or young adults? I mean, is this the point that we're at now?
Ranking Member Hawley, we were at that point 6 months ago. And the challenge for us right now is where the US is leading the development of a lot of these novel technological tools. We're not leading in regulations to protect from these tools. We have Taiwan, we have Singapore, we even have China with more advanced regulations in this space. And to your point, beyond elections, thinking about different types of kind of equally or more dangerous risks from deepfakes, there was recently a House Oversight and Accountability Committee referencing very scary statistics that 98% of all deepfakes are actually pornographic. 99%.
Sorry, what was the percentage?
98% of all deepfakes. 99% of people targeting deepfakes are women. The 40 most popular deepfake pornography websites have over 143,000 deepfakes pornography, unpermissioned, just in the last year, getting over 4 billion views. Now, these two numbers are more than the previous 10 years combined. So when I say this is already a problem, it's been a problem. We're waking up to it now, and the selection is just one risk that the larger world of regulations can solve for.
So I guess my question is, I mean, given that, what is the most effective regulatory avenues to pursue? I mean, how are we going to empower people like Francesca and her parents and the hundreds of thousands, I mean, is it soon going to be millions of women who have had their images used, commandeered, we'd say in a legal sense, and turned into this sexually explicit material?
Right.
How are we going to empower them?
It's quite simple. You mentioned CSAM imagery. There's a really nice framework in both national and also state level regulations in the space. When you upload something on, for example, YouTube, it's checking for a few things. It's checking for violence. It's checking for underage imagery. It's checking for, are you uploading the latest Drake song? That's because of regulations. So to scan for generative media would just be another check within that same flow. It's nothing new, nothing novel. It just needs your teams to actually push it forward to require the platforms to protect the consumers. Because in the absence of this, we have things like community notes, which only actually cause anything once things have been shared 100 million times. Or worse than that, we have content moderation teams, which we've seen be slashed, and they don't really do anything at all. So the challenge here right now is that the technology exists. We have folks on this DS who can actually solve for it. We need regulations to require the platforms themselves to use us the same way they're required to scan for underage imagery.
Sorry, really quick, a point on
Sure.
that. I think it's important to understand that for like a deep nude image, they're shared on like WhatsApp and things like that. Those are end-to-end encrypted. You can't detect that. It doesn't make any sense. To solve that specific deep nude, you need AI poisoning, which is part of the defense in depth. Anytime you upload an image to Instagram, you can poison it so that if someone tries to deep nude it, it turns out as garbage. So specifically for deep nudes of like images posted to Instagram, AI poisoning is that solution.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying, and all of that sounds good, and I hear what you're saying about the platform's current obligations and their current rules that they have in place, for instance, to detect CSAM and so forth. But the problem is that this committee and other committees have heard mountainous evidence that these same platforms are absolutely awash in CSAM. That is not digitally created, it's not synthetic, it is, quote unquote, real, it's actual people, which is even worse. And they're just they say that they're trying to do their best, but it is absolutely the internet, particularly Facebook, Instagram, absolutely overrun. Which brings me to what I think has got to be part of this conversation, is we have got to allow Americans, ordinary Americans, individual citizens, we have got to allow them to get into court and to hold accountable legally companies who are producing or hosting this content. If we don't do that, I don't see how we change the incentive structure. If Instagram fears that it's going to get a $1 billion jury verdict against it, they'll adopt all kinds of new technology. But if they don't, they won't. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.